My heart pounds like a drum in my chest, but my eyes are steady, locked on the man I've called mine for 15 years. Nathan Harper sits across the glowing dining room of Azure, Seattle's finest restaurant, his laugh soft as he leans toward her. Emily Carter Young radiant, her hand brushing his under the candlelight. The clink of wine glasses hums beneath the piano's gentle melody, but to me it's the sound of a vow shattering. 3 hours ago, I was Olivia Bennett, the perfect wife, believing our marriage was a fortress. Now I'm a stranger in my own story, clutching a glass of Merlot, my red dress a silent scream against the lie I've lived. I didn't come here to cry. I came to burn their secret world to ash. Nathan thinks he's safe, that his whispers of business dinners and late nights at the office have kept me blind. He's wrong. Tonight, every glance, every touch between them is a fuse I've lit. And when I strike, the explosion will shake this glittering room. Ryan Mitchell, Emily's husband, sits just steps away, unaware of the truth I'm about to unveil. I sip my wine, my smile sharp as a blade. This isn't just dinner, it's a reckoning. By the time the last candle flickers out, Nathan and Emily will face the wreckage of their choices. And I'll walk away not as a victim, but as the woman who took back her life. What do you do when the one you love betrays you? You don't break. You fight. 15 years ago, I stood in a small Seattle chapel, rain tapping the stained glass windows, and promised to love Nathan Harper forever. My hands trembled as he slipped a gold band onto my finger, calling me his sun, his light. I called him my moon, steady and constant. We were young, broke, but so sure our love could outshine any storm. Now sitting in our sleek Capitol Hill apartment, the city's amber light spilling through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I wonder when that light started to fade. I'm Olivia Bennett, 39, a financial consultant at Apex Solutions. My days are filled with spreadsheets, client meetings, and the quiet pride of helping people secure their futures. I've built a life I thought was solid. A cozy home with hardwood floors, weekend brunches at the corner cafe, yearly trips to the Oregon coast. Nathan and I were the couple everyone envied, the ones who still held hands at dinner parties, who laughed at each other's bad jokes. But lately something's been off, like a song playing just a half note flat. Nathan, 42, is a marketing director at a tech firm downtown. He's all charm and sharp suits, the kind of guy who lights up a room with a single smile. But those smiles have been scarce at home. He's been distant, his eyes avoiding mine, his phone always buzzing with work messages. He comes home late, tie loosened, carrying the faint scent of jasmine perfume that isn't mine. I told myself it was stress, the big campaign, the new client from San Francisco. I told myself the crisp shirts, the extra hours were just ambition. But doubt is a seed, and once it's planted, it grows. Last night, I was curled up on our leather couch, a glass of Pinot Noir in hand, waiting for Nathan to get home from another late meeting. The apartment was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the distant wail of a siren on Pine Street. His jacket hung over a chair, his phone carelessly left on the kitchen counter. I'm not the type to snoop. Trust was the glue of our marriage, the thing I guarded fiercely. But when his phone lit up with a soft ping, something pulled me off that couch. A notification glowed on the screen, simple but devastating. Table for 2 confirmed at Azure Friday 7:30 p.m. Window seat red wine pre-ordered. Emily will love it. My breath caught sharp as a knife. Azure, the restaurant Nathan and I swore we'd visit for our 10th anniversary. The one we never made it to because of his urgent business trip. I stared at the words, my pulse hammering in my ears. Emily. Who was Emily? My hand moved before my mind could stop it typing our wedding date, 4 digits that once felt sacred. The phone unlocked, and I stepped into a world that wasn't mine. Messages, hundreds of them. Nathan and Emily Carter, his colleague from internal communications. They talked about everything: morning coffee, runs her new earrings, a weekend in Portland he'd called a conference. There were photos too. Emily blonde and glowing her arms. Around Nathan in a hotel room, his smile brighter than I'd seen in years. The room spun. My chest tightened like all the air had been sucked out. I wanted to scream, to hurl the phone against the wall, but my body froze, knuckles white around the glass. This wasn't a fling. This was a year-long betrayal, a parallel life where I didn't exist. "Hey son, you asleep?" Nathan's voice broke the silence as he walked in. Hair damp from a shower, oblivious to the storm in my heart. I set the phone down exactly as I'd found it. "Just reading," I said, my voice flat, betraying nothing. He kissed my forehead casual, like he hadn't just torn our marriage apart with a dinner reservation. That night I lay beside him, my back to his steady breathing, my mind racing. How many times had I excused his late nights? How often had I ignored the jasmine scent, the vague excuses I wasn't the naive wife anymore? The truth was a blade, and it had cut deep, but instead of bleeding out, something else stirred inside me, sharp, cold, and alive. I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't beg. Nathan thought he could have his secret world and keep me in the dark. He was about to learn how wrong he was. By Friday, Azure's candlelight would illuminate more than his lies. It would light my way out. The moment I set Nathan's phone back on the counter, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just pain, it was clarity, cold and unyielding, like a Seattle dawn breaking through the fog. For 15 years, I'd been Olivia Bennett, the wife who smoothed every wrinkle in our marriage, who smiled through Nathan's late nights and half-truths. But now, standing in our silent apartment, the city's pulse humming beyond the windows, I saw it all. Nathan hadn't just betrayed me, he'd built a whole world with Emily Carter, one where I was nothing but a shadow. Every message, every photo, her laughing. In his arms, his fingers brushing her cheek, in a Portland hotel room, was a brick in that world. And I wasn't going to let it stand. I didn't sleep that night. My mind churned, piecing together a year of lies. The client dinners that stretched past midnight. The team-building retreat in Portland where he'd returned with a tan and a grin I hadn't seen in ages. The jasmine perfume clinging to his collar, dismissed as a colleague's overzealous hug. I'd believed him because I wanted to, because love, I thought, meant trust, but trust isn't a gift you keep giving when it's been spit on. By dawn, as the first light crept across our hardwood floors, I knew what I had to do. I wouldn't scream or smash plates. That's what Nathan expected, a hurt wife, loud but harmless. Instead, I'd be a storm, quiet and devastating, and he'd never see it coming. I poured my coffee, the mug warm in my hands, and opened my laptop. Nathan's email was still logged in from last week. His calendar meticulous, as if he thought no one would ever look. There it was, Friday 7th at 30 p.m. Azure. Dinner with window seat, red wine her favorite. My stomach twisted, but I kept moving. I searched Emily Carter on Nathan's company website. 29 internal communications, all polished smiles and LinkedIn buzzwords. A few clicks later, I found her husband Ryan Mitchell on a tech forum. 40, a freelance software developer, his profile full of posts about open source projects and community hackathons. His photo showed a man with kind eyes and a quiet strength, the kind of guy who'd never suspect his wife was slipping away. I didn't know Ryan, but I knew the weight of betrayal. He deserved the truth as much as I did. Calling him outright would be too blunt. Hi, your wife's cheating with my husband wasn't my style. I needed something sharper, something that fit the life I'd built as a financial consultant. I crafted an email professional, but warm my fingers steady on the keys. Dear Mr. Ryan Mitchell, I'm Olivia Bennett, a consultant at Apex Solutions. We're hosting a seminar on financial planning for independent developers, and your work on open source platforms caught my eye. I'd love to invite you as a guest speaker. I've reserved a table at Azure Friday, 7:30 p.m. to discuss details. Looking forward to meeting you, I hit send, my heart pounding. 2 hours later, Ryan replied, Ms. Bennett, I'm flattered. Friday at Azure works perfectly. See you then. Step 1 was done. Now for the stage. I called Azure, my voice calm practiced. Hi, I'm confirming a table for 2 Friday 7:30. Near the window if possible, ideally close to the Harper Carter reservation. We're potential collaborators and want to stay nearby. The hostess didn't hesitate. Of course, ma'am, I'll place you right beside them. Any special requests? I smiled, though she couldn't see it, just a clear view. I hung up the pieces falling into place. Nathan and Emily would have their romantic evening, but Ryan and I would be there watching every move, every lie. The truth wouldn't just be told, it'd be unveiled raw and undeniable under Azure's golden lights. Thursday night, I stood in front of my closet, the air heavy with the scent of cedar. Nathan was out working late again. I pulled out the red wine dress he'd always loved, the one he said made me glow like the sun. I slipped it on the silk, cool against my skin, and studied myself in the mirror. My dark hair fell in soft waves, my eyes sharp with purpose. This wasn't about looking good for him. It was about reminding myself who I was. Not the wife who waited, who forgave, who dimmed her light to keep his. I was Olivia, the woman who'd closed million-dollar deals, who'd taught herself to trust her gut, and my gut was screaming now. I packed a small bag, a few clothes, my laptop, the essentials. I'd booked a room at the Fairmont Olympic, a suite overlooking the city, for after Friday's reckoning. I wouldn't stay in this apartment, surrounded by memories of his lies. Nathan came home just as I zipped the bag shut. His tie loose, his smile too easy. Hey son, you okay? He asked, tossing his keys on the counter. I turned my face a mask. Just tired. Big day tomorrow. He nodded oblivious and headed to bed. I watched him go, my heart, a mix of grief and fire. He thought he knew me. He thought I'd stay soft, pliable forever, his sun. But the sun doesn't just shine, it burns. Friday morning, I went through my routine coffee emails, a meeting with a client like nothing had changed. But inside I was a coiled spring, ready to snap. I rehearsed every step in my head, arrive early, greet Ryan, keep him talking, until Nathan and Emily showed up. Then when the moment was right, I'd light the match. This wasn't revenge. It was justice. For me, for Ryan, for the vows we'd both believed in. Azure's elegance, its twinkling lights and clinking glasses, would be the perfect stage. And when the curtain fell, Nathan and Emily would see what happens when you underestimate a woman who's done playing nice. I arrived at Azure 20 minutes early, the red wine dress hugging my frame like armor. The restaurant glowed with elegance, chandeliers casting golden flecks across white tablecloths, the soft ripple of a piano weaving through the hum of conversation. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle's Elliott Bay shimmered under the dusk, a perfect backdrop for a night most people would call romantic. But I wasn't here for romance. I was here for truth. The hostess led me to my table, just steps from the window seat, reserved for Nathan and Emily. From here I could see everything, their smiles, their touches, their lies. I ordered a martini, the glass cool against my palm, and waited. My heart thumped, not from fear, but from the weight of what was coming. Every sip steadied me, sharpening my resolve. Ryan Mitchell arrived right on time. His dark blazer crisp, his smile polite but curious. He was taller than I'd pictured, with a calm warmth that made me ache for what he didn't yet know. "Olivia, great to meet you," he said, shaking my hand. "This place is something else." I smiled, genuine but guarded. "It is. Thanks for coming on short notice." We sat and I steered the conversation to his work open-source software community, project-safe topics to keep him at ease. But my eyes kept flicking to the entrance, waiting for the moment this carefully laid trap would spring. Ryan was kind, thoughtful, talking about his latest app, with a passion that reminded me of Nathan years ago, before ambition and secrets dulled his shine. I hated that I was about to break his world, but lies don't heal. They fester, then they walked in. Nathan in the navy suit I'd picked out for his last promotion, his hand grazing Emily's back as he guided her to their table. Emily wore a shimmering green dress, her blonde hair catching the candlelight, her laugh bright and carefree. They were a picture of perfection, a couple lost in their own sparkling bubble. Nathan pulled out her chair, his fingers lingering on her shoulder, and I felt my martini glass tremble in my grip. 15 years of marriage, of late-night talks and shared dreams reduced to this, a stolen moment with a woman who wasn't me. Ryan was mid-sentence something about coding ethics. When I saw Nathan lean in, pouring wine, his lips brushing Emily's ear, my chest burned, but I kept my voice steady, nodding at Ryan's words, my face a mask of calm. It was Nathan who saw me first. His eyes swept the room, casual, then locked on mine. His wine glass slipped, splashing red across the tablecloth, and a waiter rushed over with a napkin. Emily turned, following his gaze, and her face went pale, her fork clattering against her plate. For a moment, the restaurant's hum faded, and it was just us, Nathan, Emily, and me, caught in a silent scream. Ryan noticed my distraction, his brow furrowing. "Everything okay?" he asked. I smiled tight. "Just saw someone I know." "Excuse me a second." I stood, my heels clicking on the polished floor, each step deliberate like a soldier marching to battle. I didn't want a scene, not the kind that ends in shouting and broken dishes. I wanted something colder, sharper, something they'd never forget. I approached their table, my voice low but firm. "Hello, Emily. I'm Olivia, Nathan's wife. Nice to finally meet the woman who's been keeping my husband so occupied." Emily's eyes widened, her lips parting, but no words came. Nathan stood his chair, scraping back. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" His voice was a mix of panic and bravado, like he could still control this. I tilted my head, my smile cutting. "Having dinner, Nathan, like you. Except my guest might be interested in who you're with." I turned, catching Ryan's eye across the room, and beckoned him over. "Ryan, could you join us for a moment?" Ryan walked over, confusion knitting his brows. He stopped short when he saw Emily, his face shifting from curiosity to shock. "Emily, what's going on?" His voice was steady, but I heard the crack beneath it. I stepped back, letting the moment unfold. "Ryan," I said, my tone calm but unyielding, "this is my husband, Nathan, and I believe you know Emily, your wife." The air in the restaurant seemed to vanish. A few nearby tables hushed their eyes, darting toward us. Emily covered her mouth, tears welling, while Nathan's hands clenched into fists. Ryan looked from Emily to Nathan, his jaw tightening as the truth sank in. "Olivia, please." Nathan stammered, his voice low. "This isn't what it looks like." I laughed, soft but biting. "Really? So the messages calling her baby the weekend in Portland, the photos of you two in bed, those were all what team building?" Ryan's head snapped toward Emily. "Portland. You said you were visiting your sister." Emily sobbed, her words barely audible. "Ryan, I didn't mean for this to happen." I raised a hand, cutting through their excuses. "Enough. Ryan, you deserve to know who your wife's been dining with, and I'm done pretending I don't see who my husband's become." I turned to the nearest waiter, my voice steady. "Could we have a private room, please? And merge our table with Mr. Harper's. We have some things to settle." The waiter nodded, sensing the tension, and led us to a small room off the main dining area, its walls lined with dark wood, a single chandelier casting a dim glow. We sat, Ryan and me on one side, Nathan and Emily on the other, like defendants awaiting judgment. The silence was heavy, broken only by Emily's quiet sobs and the distant clink of dishes outside. I set my phone on the table, the screen glowing with Nathan's messages. To Emily, every word, a nail in the coffin of our marriage. "Ryan," I said, meeting his eyes, "I found these last night. A year of lies, planned dinners, secret trips. They didn't just betray us, they erased us." Ryan stared at the phone, his face a mask of pain and disbelief. He turned to Emily, his voice shaking. "You told me you loved me. Every morning you said it. Was it all a lie?" Emily shook her head, tears streaming. "I do love you, Ryan. It was a mistake, I swear." Nathan reached for my hand, desperate. "Olivia, I messed up. I'll end it. I'll do anything. Please don't throw us away." I pulled my hand back, my eyes locked on his. "Nathan, you threw us away the moment you chose her. You don't get to beg now." I stood my chair, scraping softly, and looked at Ryan. "We didn't ask for this, but we're not the ones who should be ashamed." I glanced at Nathan and Emily one last time, their faces pale, their world crumbling. "Enjoy your dinner. I'm sure the wine's exquisite." I walked out of the room, my head high, leaving them to drown in the truth they couldn't escape. The piano played on its notes, a faint echo against the storm in my heart. But for the first time in months, I felt light, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried far too long. As I stepped out of Azure's private room, the piano's melody faded behind me, swallowed by the sharp click of my heels on the marble floor. The Seattle night greeted me with a cool breeze, the city's lights twinkling like stars against the dark. I clutched my purse, where a keycard to a suite at the Fairmont Olympic waited a promise of solitude and freedom. Before I left, I'd placed it on the table, my voice steady. "Nathan, I'll be at the hotel until Sunday. When I come home, you'd better be gone." His eyes had widened, pleading, but I didn't look back. Emily's sobs, Ryan's silence. They stayed behind, a wreckage I'd exposed but wouldn't carry. I wasn't the woman who'd walked into Azure hours ago, trembling with betrayal. I was Olivia Bennett, and I was done hiding from the truth. The Fairmont's lobby glowed with old-world charm chandeliers, casting soft shadows across polished wood. The clerk handed me my keycard with a smile, unaware of the storm I'd just walked through. In my suite, I kicked off my heels, the red wine dress pooling on the floor like spilled blood. I stood at the window, Seattle's skyline stretching before me, its pulse steady while mine raced. Then it came, a cry that tore through me, raw, unstoppable. Not the quiet tears of a broken wife, but a howl of rage and grief for 15 years of love for nights, waiting by the door for every time I dimmed my light to keep Nathan's shining. I clutched a pillow, my sobs shaking the silence, until the city lights blurred into streaks of gold. Morning came gray and soft, the kind of Seattle dawn that feels like a whisper. I sat on the bed, coffee gone cold, my eyes burning but clear. The pain hadn't vanished, but it had sharpened into something else purpose. I wouldn't go back to being the wife who forgave and forgot. I called my lawyer, a friend from Apex Solutions, and filed for divorce before noon. Then I texted Ryan a simple message. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way. If you need to talk, I'm here." His reply came an hour later. "Thanks, Olivia. I needed the truth even if it hurts. I'm figuring out my next steps." I nodded at the screen, a quiet respect forming for this man who'd shared my wound. But the world doesn't pause for heartbreak. By Monday, whispers had spread, friends, colleagues, even Nathan's family. My phone buzzed with messages, some supportive, others sharp. "Why'd you have to make it public?" one mutual friend texted. "You could have handled it quietly." Nathan's mother called, her voice trembling. "Olivia, he's sorry. Don't tear the family apart." I set the phone down, my jaw tight. They wanted me to stay silent to protect Nathan's image, to be the good wife who swallows her pain. But I was done with that role. I called our closest friends, my voice calm but firm. "Nathan cheated for a year. I didn't ruin his reputation. He did." Some gasped, others offered hugs, but I didn't need pity. I needed honesty. I joined a women's support group in Capitol Hill, a circle of strangers who became lifelines. Sharing my story there, hearing theirs, I felt the weight lift, like I was shedding a skin I'd outgrown. Weeks later, I moved into a new apartment near Pike Place Market, small but alive, with color green plants on the windowsill. A view of the bustling street below. I'd always loved art, but set it aside because Nathan called it a hobby, not a life. Now I signed up for a painting class at a local studio, my hands trembling as I held a brush for the first time in years. Each stroke was a reclaiming, a splash of blue, for the dreams I'd buried, red for the fire I'd rediscovered. My paintings, bold, chaotic, alive, caught the eye of the studio's owner, who invited me to show them at a community exhibit. Standing in that gallery surrounded by my work, I wasn't just Olivia, the ex-wife. I was Olivia, the artist, the woman who'd turned pain into beauty. I started a blog too, writing about betrayal, healing, and the courage to start over. Thousands read it. Their comments a chorus of, "You gave me hope, and I'm not alone." Ryan and I stayed in touch, first through texts, short check-ins, shared memes about bad coffee, then weekend meetups at a riverside cafe. We didn't rush into anything. We were two people who'd lost everything, learning to trust again. One evening, walking along the Puget Sound, the water glinting under the sunset, Ryan stopped and looked at me. "Olivia, I'm not here to fix you or promise you the moon, but I'd like to walk this path with you, slow and honest." I smiled, my heart lighter than it had been in years. "I'm not ready for grand gestures, Ryan, but small steps with you I'm in." We stood there, hands brushing, not lovers yet, but something realer, allies bound by truth. A year after Azure, I saw Nathan at a charity gala downtown. He stood by the bar, thinner gray, creeping into his hair, his old confidence gone. He approached, hesitant, a glass of whiskey in hand. "Olivia," he said, his voice rough, "I didn't expect to see you." I nodded, my navy dress catching the light, my mother's pearl earrings, a quiet nod to my strength. "I didn't either." He swallowed, eyes down. "I lost everything, Emily, my job, my self-respect. I'm sorry, truly." "Are you okay?" I met his gaze, unflinching. "I'm not just okay, Nathan. I'm alive. I built a life that's mine, not ours." He nodded, stepping back. and I saw Ryan across the room, his smile warm, steady. Nathan followed my gaze, a faint smile breaking through. He's good for you. You deserve that. I touched my heart, once shattered, now whole. So do you, Nathan, but only when you stop hurting others. I turned and walked to Ryan, my hand finding his. We danced under the gala's soft lights, not as a couple chasing perfection, but as two people who'd fallen risen and chosen to keep going. The music swelled, and I felt it. The weight of betrayal gone, replaced by a quiet, fierce joy. I wasn't defined by Nathan's lies or the years I'd lost. I was Olivia, strong, free, and ready for whatever came next. The stars outside sparkled, and for the first time I knew they were shining for me. Looking back, I see that night at Azure not as the end, but as a beginning. Betrayal didn't break me. It cracked me open, forcing me to face the truth about Nathan, about myself, about what I deserve. I'm Olivia Bennett, and I've learned that life doesn't hand you strength. You forge it one hard choice at a time. Here are 3 lessons I carry with me, ones I hope you'll hold on to too. First, your self-worth is non-negotiable. I spent years dimming my light to keep Nathan's shining, but love shouldn't cost you your dignity. If someone makes you feel small, walk away. You're worth more than their lies. Second, the truth, no matter how painful, sets you free. Hiding from it only traps you in a cage of doubt. Facing Nathan's betrayal hurt like hell, but it gave me clarity to rebuild. Third, you are stronger than your scars. Every tear, every sleepless night is proof you're still here, still fighting. I turned my pain into art, into words that reached thousands. You can turn yours into something beautiful too. I used to think love meant holding on no matter what. Now I know it means letting go when holding on betrays who you are. Ryan and I aren't rushing into forever, but we're building something honest, step by step. That's enough for now. Life isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. So what about you? Have you faced a betrayal that reshaped your world? What did it teach you about yourself? Share your story below, because your voice matters. And if my journey resonates, follow along for more stories of courage and comeback. Let's keep shining together.